The Varelia sector was quiet, almost unnervingly so. Vast stretches of empty space stretched between distant stars, dotted with occasional asteroid fields that glimmered like broken jewels in the darkness. Commander Zelther of the Krelon fleet adjusted his ship's sensors again, frowning at the readings. Something unusual was approaching, a vessel unlike any they had encountered before. Its energy signature was steady, precise, and somehow familiar, though no one could place it. "Commander," said Lieutenant Varro, his voice trembling slightly, "we are detecting a vessel. Unknown. It is approaching fast." Zelthar narrowed his eyes at the screen. The Krelon were not new to space visitors. Traders, explorers, smugglers, and sometimes pirates passed through their sector regularly. But this was different. There was a calm confidence in the readings, almost as if the ship knew exactly where it was going. "Open a standard hail," Zelthar ordered. "Let's see who dares enter our space unannounced." The communication channels clicked and hummed, waiting for a response. Moments passed, and then the voice came, smooth, calm, and commanding. "Earth control." The 3 words, or rather 2 words, stopped every Krelon heart at once. The bridge went silent. Zelthar's claws tightened around the armrest of his chair. "Repeat that," he demanded. The voice came again, steady and confident. "Earth control." Varro's eyes widened in disbelief. "Commander, that cannot be Earth." "But the legends, silence," Zelthar roared. He gestured sharply. "Bring up the archives. Now." A holographic display rose from the floor, showing ancient files and star maps. Stories of Earth were rare in Krelon records. Earth was not a planet to fear because of weapons, but because of intellect, strategy, and an uncanny ability to survive impossible situations. The Krelon had always thought Earth a distant myth, spoken about in hushed tones by traders who claimed to have seen humans. Varro glanced nervously at the crew. They're saying we are under their control, but how? How can a planet even remotely control space beyond its borders?" "Calm yourselves," Zelthar said, though his voice carried tension. "Prepare defensive protocols, but do not act yet. Observe, this is unusual." "Too unusual?" Meanwhile, aboard the mysterious vessel, the human captain leaned back in her chair, a faint smile on her face. She glanced at her crew, who were monitoring the alien fleet with quiet efficiency. "They're surprised," she said. Lieutenant Harris, scanning alien signals, nodded. "Surprised is an understatement. I've never seen anything like this. They're frozen." The captain chuckled softly. "Good, let's keep it that way. Remember, our goal is not conflict. Let them know who we are without causing panic. Respect first, fear second, if at all." Back on the Krelon flagship, Zelthar's mind raced. He had heard of human cunning, their ability to strategize in ways no other species could, their diplomatic skill, their quiet but undeniable influence. And yet, to hear it stated so plainly, Earth control, was like a sudden jolt of ice water. The legends were true. Somehow humans had reached across the stars. "Commander," Varro whispered, voice almost a squeak. They're not showing aggression. They are calm. Too calm." "Exactly," Zelthar said, more to himself than to anyone else. "And that confidence, is what makes them dangerous. Alert all fleets. Prepare shields, but hold fire. We do not provoke a legend." The Krelon crew worked in tense silence. The alien vessels adjusted positions, their sensors scanning the human ship, attempting to find weaknesses. Yet the human vessel did nothing aggressive. It hovered, unassuming yet somehow commanding. The humans didn't shout, they didn't make threats. They just existed in the void, radiating calm power. "Commander," Varro said again, swallowing hard. "Should we respond? Or retreat?" Zelthar paused. He looked at the screens, the glowing symbols, the vastness of space beyond. He thought of the stories he had read of how humans could negotiate, trick, and outsmart creatures far stronger than themselves. He thought of the countless star systems rumored to have bowed to Earth, not by force but by intellect. "No," Zelthar finally said. "We wait, observe, and we hope our caution is enough. Engage only if necessary." On the human ship, the captain leaned forward, fingers steepled. "They know us," she said quietly. "They are thinking, planning. Good, let them think. Let them realize Earth is not just a planet. Earth is a force." The unknown vessel and the alien fleet faced each other in the darkness of space, a silent standoff stretching across millions of kilometers. Yet in that silence, the balance of power was clear. Humans had arrived, and even in this remote sector, their reputation alone was enough to make an entire alien fleet hesitate. And as the stars gleamed cold and distant around them, one truth became certain: the legends of Earth were not myths. They were reality. The Krylon fleet remained frozen in space, their vessels spread in cautious formation, weapons charged but unmoving. Commander Zelthar's mind raced with questions. He had expected smugglers, maybe even a minor human scout. But this was something entirely different. The calm, confident voice of the human ship echoed in his memory. Earth Control. Commander, Lieutenant Varro said, his claws trembling slightly. They are not responding to our hails. Should we move closer? Zelthar shook his head. No, too risky. They want us to think they are in control. That alone is powerful. Observe, gather information. We cannot afford to make mistakes. On the human vessel, the captain watched the alien fleet carefully. She could feel their hesitation through their signals. Every flicker on the screens, every sudden change in formation spoke volumes. They were unsure. Nervous. Afraid, though they would never admit it aloud. Lieutenant Harris leaned forward, pointing to a display. They're trying to communicate internally. Their fleet is in chaos. Some ships are moving as if they want to flee. Others are holding position, waiting for orders. They don't know what to do, the captain smiled faintly. Exactly as expected. Fear does not always come from weapons. Sometimes it comes from knowledge and reputation. Let's continue the observation. Back on the Krylon flagship, the alien fleet's bridge was a flurry of activity. Ships adjusted positions, scanning and scanning again. Data streams filled their screens, showing the human vessel's shields, hull design, energy output. Nothing seemed threatening at first glance. No massive weapons, no signs of aggression, and yet the words Earth Control lingered in every officer's mind. Commander, an advisor said quietly, we should respond. Let them know we are prepared to defend our sector. Zelthar's claws tightened. And tell them what? That we are ready to challenge the legendary humans? No, we wait. Observation first. Do not act hastily. They are testing us, whether intentionally or not, we will find out. Meanwhile, the humans initiated subtle maneuvers. Their vessel shifted slightly, demonstrating agility without aggression. Energy readings adjusted not as a threat, but as a subtle display of capability. It was a dance, a silent demonstration of intelligence and control. Varro's antennae twitched nervously. Commander, look at their energy output. It's stable. Even when they move, nothing changes. Their systems are perfectly balanced. It's almost impossible to predict their capabilities. That is exactly why humans are dangerous, Zelthar muttered. Not because of weapons, not because of speed, but because of unpredictability combined with precision. We have no idea what they could do if provoked, or even if not provoked. The silence stretched across the sector. Neither side made a decisive move. For the humans, it was part of the strategy. Let the aliens question themselves. Let them think, analyze, and doubt. For the Krylon, each moment was filled with tension. Every officer aware that one wrong action could spark disaster. On the human vessel, the captain tapped her fingers lightly on the console. They are thinking about retreating. But we cannot let that happen yet. We need them to understand the balance. We are not aggressors, but we are not weak either. Show them we are careful but ready. Harris nodded. Understood, Captain. Adjusting signals. No aggression. Just presence. The Krylon commander noticed the subtle energy shifts. Something was different, he realized. It was not their weapons that caused caution. It was the human confidence, their calm control, their ability to remain unshaken while facing an entire fleet. Zelthar could feel the history of humans pressing down on him. Tales from long ago came to mind. How humans had outwitted countless species, turned enemies into allies, and survived against impossible odds. And now, here they were in person. We must respond, Zelthar finally said, his voice steady despite his unease. Not with weapons, not with threats, but with communication. Let them know we acknowledge them. Cautiously, Varro adjusted the comlink. Initiating communication, Commander. Attention, vessel identified as Earth Control, Zelthar said, projecting calm authority he did not fuel. I feel. We are Commander Zelthar of the Krylon fleet. Your arrival is unexpected. Identify your purpose in this sector. A moment passed. Then, as if the humans had anticipated every possible response, The calm voice returned. We are explorers, representatives of Earth's interstellar interests. We do not seek conflict. We do not claim territory. We ask only recognition and respect. The Krelon crew exchanged nervous glances. Recognition and respect and nothing else? The human words carried authority without threat, and yet the implication was clear. Disrespecting this vessel or its planet could be disastrous. Zelthar took a deep breath, calming himself. Very well. We will observe. We will consider your position. But know this. Any aggression will be met with defensive measures. The humans did not respond aggressively. They simply adjusted their course slightly, signaling acknowledgement, not submission. The subtle dance of diplomacy, strategy, and power had begun. In that quiet, tense moment, one truth became apparent across both vessels. Humans were not like other species. They did not rely solely on weapons or technology. They relied on intellect, on reputation, and on the ability to make even the most powerful fleets pause in hesitation. And for the Krelon, it was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The silence between the fleets stretched across the dark expanse of space. Stars shimmered faintly in the distance, and the alien vessels hovered tens of thousands of kilometers from the human ship, hesitant and cautious. Commander Zelthar of the Krelon fleet could feel the tension building on his bridge. Every officer's senses were alert, every instrument carefully watched. Then the calm, deliberate voice of the human captain broke the silence. Commander Zelthar, it said, smooth and precise. We understand your caution. That is wise. But there is a way for you to better understand Earth's intentions and perhaps your own response. Zelthar's claws tightened. Go on, he said, wary. What do you propose? A test, the voice replied. A demonstration of skill, intelligence, and adaptability. We ask you to participate. It is not a challenge of weapons, but a measure of problem solving. Will you accept? The alien crew exchanged uneasy glances. Some were eager to prove their superiority. Others whispered quietly of legends and the impossible capabilities of humans. Zelthar hesitated only a moment before nodding. We accept your terms. Explain the test. The human captain's instructions were precise but simple. A holographic projection of a spatial maze appeared on both fleets' screens. It was a vast network of shifting asteroid clusters and energy fields, designed to test navigation, logic, and adaptability. At certain points, the maze presented complex puzzles that required coordination between multiple ships to solve. Varro's antennae twitched. They want us to navigate and solve this maze? Why, is this some form of intimidation? No, Zelthar said slowly, analyzing the maze. This is a demonstration. They want to show that they can think ahead, plan carefully, and act as one. That is their strength. The human ship moved first, gliding smoothly through the maze. Their sensors were precise, their movements calculated. At each puzzle point, the crew quickly solved spatial and logical problems with efficiency and teamwork. The aliens watched, astonished. Each step the humans took was perfect, balanced, and almost effortless. This is impossible, muttered one Krelon officer. How can they solve these problems so quickly? We have never seen a species coordinate like this in real time. Varro shook his head. It is not just speed. It is the way they think. Predictive patterns, cooperation, anticipation of errors. Humans are unlike anything we have encountered. The Krelon fleet attempted the same maneuvers. Their ships were faster, their energy output higher, but they struggled to match the humans' precision. A single miscalculation sent one vessel dangerously close to an asteroid, forcing emergency maneuvers. Another misstep caused a failure to synchronize, leaving a section of the fleet blocked. Zelthar gritted his teeth, frustrated but impressed. Observe, adapt, correct. That is their method. They use the challenge to show not only their skill but also their patience. This is strategy on a level we have not experienced. The humans continued, calmly guiding their ship through the final sections of the maze. Each obstacle was met with careful planning. Each decision was deliberate. They solved the final puzzle with quiet confidence, finishing faster and cleaner than any alien vessel could. On the alien bridge, murmurs filled the air. They are perfect in their coordination. Every movement calculated. Every outcome predicted. Varro's voice trembled. Commander, they are showing us who they are. Not with weapons, but with intelligence. This is their power. Zelthar exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and unease washing over him. Indeed, humans are not strong in the way we define strength. They are strong in ways we cannot measure. Strategy, adaptability, coordination, they turn intelligence into authority. The human captain spoke again, her voice calm. Commander Zelthar, your fleet performed admirably. The maze is not a test of strength but of unity and foresight. You see the difference between speed and understanding, between force and planning. That is the essence of Earth's influence. Zelthar paused, processing the words. And the purpose of this demonstration? He asked cautiously. To show that Earth does not conquer through aggression alone, the captain explained. We seek respect, not fear. Yet respect earned through intellect, skill, and judgment is more lasting than any weapon. Those who recognize this can work with us. Those who do not may find themselves at a disadvantage. The Krelon officers were silent. No one spoke for several moments, each reflecting on the performance they had just witnessed. They had not faced weapons, had not experienced explosions or destruction, yet the humans had demonstrated dominance in a way that was undeniable. Finally, Zelthar nodded. Your demonstration is clear. Earth's influence is not just in stories. It is present, and it is formidable. The human captain inclined her head slightly. We do not demand submission, Commander. We offer understanding. Let this be the beginning of mutual recognition, not conflict. The alien fleet, though still cautious, began to adjust its formation. A new awareness had settled over the bridge. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were a force defined by intelligence, strategy, and unity. A species capable of shaping entire sectors without firing a single shot. And in that realization, one thing became certain. The humans had set the terms of engagement. Not through threat, but through brilliance. The Krelon had seen the first true measure of Earth's power, and it left them both awed and wary. The Krelon fleet drifted in tense silence after the test. Commander Zelthar's claws rested lightly on the armrest of his chair, but his mind was racing. He had faced many species in his career, but none like these humans, not for speed, not for firepower, but for intelligence and subtle control. Every maneuver of the human vessel had shown a level of coordination and foresight that the Krelon could not match. Commander, Lieutenant Varro said quietly, his antennae twitching, we have faced difficult opponents before, but nothing compares to this. They do not even need weapons, and yet they are in complete control. Zelthar nodded. Yes, that is what makes humans unique. They do not rely solely on strength or numbers. They rely on thought, strategy, and unity. That is their weapon, and we are seeing it firsthand. In a private chamber, Zelthar met with his advisors. The room hummed with quiet tension, a contrast to the restless activity on the bridge. We must speak openly, Zelthar said. The humans, they are not just explorers. They are a force in this sector and possibly beyond. Their reputation is real. Their influence is tangible. One advisor hesitated before speaking. Commander, we have records. Ancient legends passed down by traders and fragments from older expeditions. Humans have always been remarkable, but I did not think these stories were true. Not to this extent. Zelthar's eyes narrowed. The stories were true. They are more than true. Every legend we have heard, they surpass it. We have underestimated them. Perhaps all species have underestimated them. Back on the human vessel, the captain monitored the alien fleet, reading subtle changes in their formation and signals. They were still wary, still cautious, but the tension was different now. The aliens were no longer seeing humans as a potential threat. They were beginning to understand the humans' power. Not just physical or technological power, but the power of intellect, of reputation, of careful planning. The captain turned to her crew. They are realizing the truth, she said softly. They see what Earth represents. We do not conquer with weapons, but we lead through understanding, strategy, and foresight. That is what makes humans. Humans. Lieutenant Harris glanced at the captain. Do you think they will accept that? That Earth is different? They will, the captain replied. But it takes time. They need to see that resistance is futile, not through aggression, but through clarity. We show them the path, and they must choose to follow it. Back on the Krelon flagship, Zelthar convened his senior officers. We cannot ignore what we have seen, he said. The humans have demonstrated their capabilities. Their control, their intelligence, their coordination. It is unparalleled. We face a choice. oppose them or align with them. And opposing them may be unwise, an advisor spoke cautiously. Commander, if we form an alliance, we gain access to their knowledge and their technology. But we must be careful. They are not like any species we have met. Their plans are long-term. Their strategies subtle. We must not be naive. True, Zelthar agreed. But understanding them now, before any conflict arises, gives us the advantage. Recognition and respect are safer than defiance. And perhaps necessary. Meanwhile, the human captain sent a simple message to the alien fleet. We do not seek dominance through fear. We seek cooperation through understanding. Choose wisely. The message hung in space, unassuming yet powerful. On the Kreelan bridge, the words were analyzed, repeated, and discussed in every chamber. For the first time, a species in this sector considered humans not merely as explorers, but as equals, and potentially as leaders. Varro turned to Zelthar, eyes wide. Commander, they have not threatened us. They have not demanded obedience, and yet, I feel as though we have been bested. By knowledge, by skill, by calm authority, how can a species be so strong without firing a shot? Zelthar sighed, a mixture of relief and concern in his voice. That, Lieutenant, is the danger of humans. They do not need weapons to command respect. Their minds, their planning, their patience. It is enough. We are seeing the true influence of Earth. The alien fleet slowly adjusted its formation, showing signs of acknowledgement. They were no longer merely cautious. They were beginning to respect the humans' presence, to understand that this species was not ordinary, and that alliances, not conflict, might be the wisest path. On the human vessel, the captain observed the shift in the alien fleet with quiet satisfaction. It is working, she said. They understand. They will consider cooperation. And in time they will see that working with Earth is the better choice. Zelthar, standing on the bridge of his flagship, stared at the human ship. He realized the truth. Humans were not invincible through force, but through intellect, strategy, and subtle influence. They had shown him the power of careful planning, adaptability, and calm authority. And in that moment, one thing was certain. Earth's presence in this sector was more than a warning. It was a revelation. The Kreelan fleet, once confident in its own strength, now understood a simple truth. Humans did not need to fight to dominate. Their influence, their intelligence, and their calm command were enough to reshape the balance of power across the stars. The Kreelan fleet slowly stabilized, its ships adjusting to a new reality. Commander Zelthar's mind was clear now, free from the panic and uncertainty that had gripped him when they first heard the words Earth Control. The humans were not just a distant legend. They were here, real, and their presence demanded careful consideration. Commander, Lieutenant Varro said softly, his antennae lowering in relief. They are waiting. I think they are ready for a discussion. Not conflict, but dialogue. Zelthar nodded. Yes, it is time to act wisely. Open a secure channel. The humans responded instantly, their calm and measured voices filling the fleet's communication network. Commander Zelthar, we hope your fleet is ready for constructive conversation. Our purpose is not to dominate, but to create understanding, alliances, and mutual respect. The alien commander considered the words carefully. They were not demands, not threats, just clear, confident diplomacy. Yet, beneath the calm, Zelthar could sense authority, intelligence, and the kind of power that did not rely on weapons. Understood, Zelthar said finally. We are willing to discuss cooperation. Our species has long held legends about Earth, and now we see they are justified. A subtle shift occurred among the Kreelan ships. Formation adjustments replaced tension. Sensors relaxed. Shields remained active but non-threatening. It was the first real sign that the aliens were acknowledging the humans' presence and influence. On the human vessel, the captain observed the change with quiet satisfaction. They understand, she said. They see that cooperation benefits everyone. But we must continue to guide this carefully. Mutual respect is earned, and it must be maintained. Over the next hours, both fleets engaged in dialogue. Plans for joint exploration, shared trade routes, and coordinated patrols were discussed. The humans offered guidance on navigation through the sector's dangerous asteroid fields, and tips for avoiding unstable energy currents. The Kreelan provided maps, resources, and knowledge of nearby systems unknown to humans. Zelthar was struck by the dynamic. Unlike other species he had encountered, Humans led not through force but through intelligence, strategy, and subtle influence. They suggested ideas but left choice in the hands of others. They demonstrated authority without arrogance, and every decision was carefully measured to build trust. Varro watched the exchanges on the main console. "Commander, they are teaching us without demanding obedience. It is remarkable. Every suggestion strengthens their position while still leaving us free to decide. This is diplomacy as a weapon." Zelthar exhaled, leaning back in his chair. "Yes, it is subtle but undeniable. Their influence grows with every interaction. That is the true measure of Earth's power, not through war but through thought, strategy, and guidance." By the end of the day, the formal agreements were set. Humans and Krelon would work together in the sector, sharing intelligence and coordinating exploration. Both fleets would respect each other's authority, but it was clear who had established the standard. Humans did not need to dominate. They had earned respect simply by being themselves, intelligent, adaptable, and confident. The human captain recorded the final message for the Krelon fleet. "We are pleased to formalize this cooperation. Let this alliance mark a new chapter of mutual respect and shared progress. Earth seeks understanding and in doing so hopes to strengthen all who choose collaboration." Zelthar's antennae twitched as he read the message. The simplicity and clarity were powerful. No hidden threats, no arrogance. Yet every word conveyed authority. He realized that humans could command without confrontation, lead without force, and influence without intimidation. "Commander," Varro whispered, "they have shown us everything we feared and respected about humans, without firing a shot. How is that possible?" Zelthar smiled faintly, a mixture of awe and pride in his voice. "That is what makes them extraordinary, Lieutenant. That is the essence of Earth. Strength is not only measured by weapons, but by intelligence, planning, and calm authority. We have witnessed it firsthand." Across the sector, whispers spread among other alien species. News of the humans' performance, their calm yet commanding presence, and the new alliance with the Krelon fleet traveled faster than any ship could fly. Humans had arrived not as conquerors, but as leaders, a species whose reputation alone could inspire respect, cooperation, and caution across the stars. The human crew prepared to leave the Varelia sector, their mission complete. They charted a course deeper into uncharted space, confident in their reputation and aware of the influence they had already established. The captain looked at her crew. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Earth's presence is growing. Our influence spreads not through fear, but through intellect, diplomacy, and understanding. Remember that. That is what makes us humans." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, mysterious and full of possibility. Yet humans had proven that even in the vast galaxy, their ingenuity, courage, and intelligence would allow them to thrive. They had earned respect, built alliances, and subtly shifted the balance of power. And as the human vessel disappeared into the distance, one truth was undeniable across the Varelia sector. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were a force defined by strategy, adaptability, and wisdom. Earth was no longer a distant legend. It was a presence, a symbol, and a promise that intelligence, patience, and unity could shape the future of the stars.